Right then, welcome to episode number 46 of Off the Leash, brought to you by the Racing Post in association with Premier Greyhound Racing. As ever, we're in Derby class company. Open race correspondent of the Racing Post, Tony Bullen, joins us. Tony, how's your form?
Yeah, not too bad. A little bit up and down the start of the year, but we're gradually getting there, Dave. A little bit of a blank week this week. We had three finals on the spin, so a little bit of a lull this week, but no doubt there'll be thick and fast once again.
Yeah, well, there's competitions coming thick and fast throughout February, March, April and onwards, but it is a lull. Let's call it a respite rather than a lull. This week's show, we will look back on the two big finals from last weekend, the Cesarewitch final at Central Park on Saturday night and the Essex Vase final on Friday night at Romford. Two brilliant winners there. In the absence of big race action, we're also going to flag up a couple of precocious talents, some superstars in the making perhaps, and perhaps grounds I think are going to make waves this year as well. So an interesting segment. Maybe we've done Dogs to Follow for 2025, but I think we may have seen a couple of stars born at the weekend as well. So a couple for you to follow. As ever, do get in touch with us, whether you're watching us on the Racing Post YouTube channel or on the Racing Post Grounds Facebook page. Drop a comment in below. What do you think of the two grounds that we're flagging up as potential superstars? What did you make of last week's finals? And give us your best bet of the week as well. You know, myself and Tony give our views, but it'd be good to get who's your nap over the coming days on the Premier Greyhound Racing Service. Live, of course, on the PGR website and, of course, behind the red button on Sky Sports Racing. Shall we get into it then? Right. The naps went a little bit west last week. However, Tony kept throughout anti-post, semi-finals and the final with Garfinnie Blaze. So hopefully there's a few of you out there that did keep the faith with the defending champion, who wasn't perhaps as short a price as we thought he was going to be should he get to the final at the start of the event, Tony, because a certain Droopy's Flair lined up in the final. We're now going to have a look at it. Garfinnie Blaze successfully defended his title. 44.75 out of trap 2. Bright Jewel cut out the running in trap 6. Droopy's Flotilla in trap 5. And the aforementioned Droopy's Flair was in trap 3. And I tell you what, Tony, going into the corner, I thought Droopy's Flair was going to go around in some sort of pitch and the right was on the wall. But Droopy's Flotilla dropped onto the rail in trap 5. There was trouble. And all of a sudden, the defending champion emerged.
Yeah, it was Crowd City early. It was criminal. We sort of got robbed of a potential great race. I mean, don't get me wrong, it still was a good race, but after that early crowd, and I think she tracked too well for her own benefit, the Droopy's Flair, and that's the thing. Sometimes a slick exit isn't always the best policy, but yeah, Bright Jewel looked like for some stage was going to cause a major upset because it did avoid all that shenanigans going on in the early stages. But Garfinnie Blaze, and this is what we did touch on, Dave, he's not a one-trick pony, this dog. He's got the ability to lead from the front and come from just off the pace. And okay, he's got the right dog to set his sights on in the outside of the rag of the party, Bright Jewel, but he still had to knuckle down to the task, and knuckle down to the task he did. Droopy's Flair still nearly showed a bit of recovery skills of her own, but being young and just having one or two too many dogs in front of her, it was Garfinnie Blaze who all credit to him, defended the title in bold fashion.
Yeah, he's got massive middle. He starts well. He stays well. I mean, he was still clear to the drop. Champion trainer Mark Wallace speaking afterwards, they're not really sure what to go for. You know, I think the golden jacket, had it been at Crayford and had Crayford still been open, was certainly a possibility. And he showed there in that race, what were we, 731 metres. And he was no signs of him stopping. That whole litter, you know, Ballymac Taylor in there as well. They all stay strongly. Yeah,
exactly that. And that's the thing. You can't, if you've got class, you can overcome adversity. And that's exactly what Garfinnie Blaze did. Connections will obviously be disappointed with the youngster, but she's got plenty of opportunity. She's going to have numerous bites of the cherry going forward, Dave.
Yeah, really, really exciting. Droopy's Flair, really exciting. And should we see the return of Droopy's Clue, the staying scene all of a sudden comes alive, and we could see tussles all year round in all the big competitions. So that wasn't to be for the champion trainer Mark Wallace in the Essex Vase final, though, on Friday night at Romford. Despite having a significant numerical advantage, Mark Wallace was chasing a 7th Essex Vase. He had 4 of the 6 finalists, but it was Maxine Locke's Droopy's Eunice for the JR Racing Syndicate. From Trap 4, 35.21, New in Cloud in Trap 5, and Fabulous Sonique in Trap 2. Now, I've watched this race a few times, Tony, and I'm not entirely sure how she gets across at the turn, but her connections, Gavin O'Mahony, Rob Howe, you know, they think the world of her. And one expression or term, description, if you want to call it, that they give her is game. She's gutsy, she's game, and she showed all of that at the turn, and then she was away and she showed all her class. Yeah,
she did. I mean, there's not a lot of her either. She's only like 25 kilos top whack, but she won heat and semi in good fashion. I mean, she'd been more renowned for her exploits on her travels last year, and she had done connections proud in numerous competitions over the 4 and 6 bends day. But this was her moment. When she fronted off, she weren't going to get caught because she's sub 35 seconds herself. And yeah, it was a good run. I mean, Maxine in recent times, she's been going to war on her travels with some good progressive top types. But Droopy's Eunice, she's been there and worn the t-shirt and finally enjoyed her big moment in the spotlight.
Yeah, she's been a real favourite here on Off the Leash. You know, we started this show 12 months ago, and it feels like she's featured in almost every show. This was her 7th Cat 1 final, and finally she got the job done, and rightly so as well. Whether it be 4 bends, 6 bends, she's been absolutely brilliant. And the lads behind her, as I mentioned, Rob Howe, Gavin O'Mahony, Jack Russell, and of course Maxine's dad, Steve, pumping a lot into the game. And, you know, we were there on Friday night. I was there on Friday night, and it was just the emotion was pouring out of them. It means the world on their local patch as well. You know, of course, won the Kent Derby and the Puppy Oaks at Toaster last year. Droopy's Display, Yahoo Maisie, a really, really talented team of dogs. And that kennel and that ownership, that syndicate, they're going to be a big force in this sport in the coming years, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. You put the work in. I mean, I think they're showing up at Newcastle on Thursday with a couple of nice youngsters. So you know, if you've got the ammunition and you got the vehicle, it's the graft. But that's when you reap the rewards. I think that's when you get the satisfaction. All the work and the effort and the travelling and the time. It's down to the dogs when they're in the traps. But when they get it right, Dave. The emotion and the adrenaline, you can't bottle it. That's what makes this sport so great when it all comes to plan.
Yeah, there you go. A very popular local winner of this year's Coral Essex Vase. Right, they were the 2 finals from last week. As I promised at the top of the show, we've got no Cat 1 action to preview this week. So what we've done, or what I've done, is flagged a couple of dogs that lit up Central Park on Saturday night. Young dogs, young British bred dogs, both trained by Patrick Janssens, both bred and owned by Dave Firminger. Let's get into it then. The first one, Romeo Empire. Now, Romeo Empire was in Trap 3 here. Queen Georgia, 3 Steps to Victory winner, a local bitch, if you like, Liz and Rab McNair. They school, trial, and race a lot of their dogs around Central Park. So Queen Georgia wasn't her first rodeo at Central Park, let's put it that way. She was up his inside. And what I liked about this, Tony, is this Romeo Empire dog, he'd already shown class and ability. He's put 29.29 on the board here, which is a fair time. But he definitely didn't have it his own way. It got rough around the second turn. But down the far side, he opened up and what we'd call gapped, if you like, left behind Queen Georgia, a classy bitch. And this is a youngster of real promise.
Yeah, I mean, he had 5. He had a handful of races in Ireland, was 0 from 5, but they trialled him at Shelbourne Park. He'd done 27.98, so the dog clearly always had the pace at his disposal. I couldn't really work out what he beat in his first 2 races. He won a heat and final of a maiden event, but he did it well, coming from just off the pace. And the fact that the dog that he's run away from, his Queen Georgia, makes this effort, tells you that he is the real deal because she's proven over 6 bends. She won the 3 Steps to Victory, Dave. So that's how good she is. But he just absolutely run away from her. All right, he's got to show that he can do it away from Central Park. All 3 wins have been at Central Park, but there's no doubt that the manner and the attitude the dog's shown, there's more to come.
There is indeed. And Patrick Janssens very bullish about his team of young dogs. Fabulous Hecker was a winner for them over 6 bends on the night as well. Now, plans are still fluid with a lot of these dogs. But Patrick did mention that perhaps the British Breeder Stakes, big British bred competition up at Nottingham, might be where we see Romeo Empire next. We didn't have to wait long to see another Romeo young superstar, and it was at the back end of the card, same night, Saturday night at Central Park, and this was absolutely sensational. Sit back and enjoy track 3 here, Romeo Tomcat, 28.90. What you see on the card is what this dog has been up to in his lifetime. This was first time up. I'm not sure he's beaten too much here, Tony, but you can only beat what's in front of you, and beat is an understatement here. Trounced them by half the track.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably one of those races that you'd see in Ireland where there's a dog that's got a second and a half in hand and just absolutely romps the field. But it was, again, the manner and the way that Romeo Tomcat did it. The trials, the qualifying trials looked good. And the fact that he had trialled at Toaster, Sheffield and Central Park and put up decent times told you that he looked a decent prospect, and he's shown that he's blown away the opposition here. By far the fastest time of the night. And when you look at the undercard, that tells you, I know he hasn't beaten a lot, but when he's beaten the times of the Antigua Kestrels, the Romeo Empire, it was such a good run. I mean, 17, nearly 18 length victory. Wow, what a run.
Yeah, very, very exciting young dog. And that, just to reaffirm, if you like, that is debut. There is no handful of starts with Graham Holland over in Ireland. This is, Patrick said to me, what you see on the race card is what this dog has done. So he is so exciting. And I understand, I've not checked the trial sheet yet, but he was booked in for a trial at Monmore on Saturday night. Now, Patrick suggested perhaps the 480 might not be where he ends up. You know, he looks a big, powerful dog, you know, the 500-metre type that we might see at Toaster in the Derby at some point in his career, no doubt, whether it be this year or next year. But they're going to trial him. We've got the Premier Greyhound Racing Puppy Derby coming up at Monmore very, very soon. So he is going to be a contender, but two names to definitely put down in the notebook with permanent marker, Romeo Empire and Romeo Tomcat, both British bred, both bred and owned by Dave Firmage, a massive supporter of the game. So, yeah, two really, really exciting grounds to look forward to. No Cat 1 action this week for you, but there you go. Stars of the Future on show at Central Park on Saturday night. Right, let's get to it then. Best bets of the week. There is no Category 1 action for us to get stuck into. Tony Bullen, open race correspondent of the Racing Post. You have the floor. Where is the best bet of the week in the sport of greyhound racing?
Yeah, well, obviously at the time of recording, a lot of the weekend races, they're still not filled yet. But Romford always have their opens on a Friday, filling early. And I like the final, the Romford Friday night Stayers final in 8:54. Now, I'm with Mad for Sterling. I thought he was a bit unlucky behind Untold Panga in the first round. Obviously, you've always got your heart in your mouth. He's a come from off the speed dog, which at Romford, you'd probably want a little bit of extra value in the price. But although Untold Panga's got a great makeup on the rails, I just think with a run, Mad for Sterling will turn the tables in the final, Dave.
Yeah, powerful dog. You know, all you need is a little bit of late racing room. And Mad for Sterling is going to be very hard to beat. I agree in that 8:54. I'm going to Romford as well. If it's not broke, don't fix it. 2 weeks ago, I gave you Front Alice, who absolutely bolted. I think she was 9-4 into 6-5 from a good draw. She is, of course, the Golden Sprint champion for Kevin Proctor. And I think she's got a good draw again on Friday night. So she goes in the 8:19. The dog inside her, I had a little peep at that one. Raced at Valley, dived inside, looked for the rail. So that once again, the draw is brilliant. The dog inside's going to steer inside to the rail. The track will open up lovely. And Front Alice, the Golden Sprint champion, I think can win again at Romford on Friday night. Right, that is it then, Tony. Listen, there's no Cat 1 action, but I guarantee there's still going to be a bucket full of open races to get stuck into. You're our man with the tips and betting. Very busy time at the moment.
Yeah, it is. I mean, one thing I've noticed in recent times, a lot of track opens, it's full of local dogs where the away trainers, you're only having one or two away trainers showing up. And that tells you our tracks are probably struggling, really. But when there's events coming up, you do get a little bit of better class races because trainers are actually then prepping their dogs. But at the moment, you're looking at sort of graded opens. Quite a lot of opens that these tracks are staging are virtually graded opens, really.
Yeah, well, I think what will be applicable to what you've just said there is maybe Monmore, because we've got the Winter Derby and the Puppy Derby coming up, and you touched on it as well with, I think, Team Maxine Lock heading up to Newcastle. The Northern Puppy Derby is not too far away either. So they're two tracks I think you're going to see real top-class racing at in the coming weeks. So Newcastle and Monmore, all of course live on the Premier Greyhound Racing Service behind the red button on Sky Sports Racing and on the PGR stream. Let us know your thoughts on the open race scene, who you're backing this week. I'm keen to get naps off everyone. Who your best bet this week? We'll have a little peep at them and see maybe who's come up with the goods on next week's show. Until then, enjoy the Greyhound racing, gamble responsibly, and we'll see you next time.